Welcome to ATI Pro Media live at 9 o'clock. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for joining us every day. It's Tuesday, May the 6th, and we're grinding through the week here. Quiet. A lot of people out in the field, a lot of people doing field work if they can, if they're not too wet. But yeah, we had crop progress out yesterday, weekly export inspections, and we'll talk a little bit of cattle as well. We'll talk about fund positioning and some seasonals here as well today as well. So let's dive into your markets, and then we'll get into today's show. We got July corn up 2 cents, 4.56 and a quarter. Deese corn is down a penny at 4.42 even. July beans are down 4 cents at 10.41. Nove beans are down 4 cents at 10.18. Soy oil is a little bit weaker. Soy meal is 90 cents firmer at 296.40. Wheat is up a nickel in Chicago, 5.36 and a quarter. July KC wheat is up 3 3/4 cent at 5.36 and a half. Looking over your cotton market is down 1/4 cent at 69.73 on Deese cotton. In your meat markets, we got a mixed board on the meat markets, trying to figure out which way they want to go next, but they've been surging higher. And that feeder cattle board, we got the August up 15 points at 299.05. Looking over your live cattle, they're up 22 points, 213.87 half. August fats are up 37.5 cents at 209.35. Lean hogs are a buck weaker, a buck 85 lower on your June hogs, 97.15. Crude oil is $2 firmer at 59.15 a barrel, still below that $60 a barrel level. Diesel is 4 cents higher. Nat gas is 4.5 cents firmer, 359.50. The Dow is 360 points lower at 40,955. The S&P 55 points weaker at 5,616. The NASDAQ is 270 lower at 19,786. The Russell's 25 points lower at 1,985. Bitcoin off 365 points, 94,365. Gold is 79 points firmer, 3,401. And silver is 84 cents an ounce weaker at 33. The dollar is 500 points off, 99.14. That's kind of a rundown in your markets, but grain's a little bit corn trying, but struggling. Old crop up, new crop down. Nasty day in your corn and wheat markets yesterday. Gave back a lot of the recent bounce back gains there. But we had export inspections yesterday, weekly export inspections. Pull in a graphic here and give you a snapshot of those. We had corn was pretty strong, 63.3 million bushels, near that mid upper end of that trade estimate range. So continued strong shipments of corn going out the door. Mexico, Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, they were the big takers. As far as export inspections, we are 65% of the year-to-date forecast in the USDA at 2.55 billion bushels for their plugged export number. So good, strong to see. Watch basis. Export bids on your corn side of things are strong. Board breaks, and the farmers been pretty quiet selling as they're busy out in the field, and they don't like the futures price because we're lower than where we've been. So watch those basis opportunities out there on your old crop grain. Beans see seasonal decline in export shipments here, 11.9 million bushels on that lower end of the range. They're weaker versus last week and a little off of where they were last year as well. So China's bean market's going to be Brazil and Argentina, and we're just seeing that seasonal tendency where the U.S. is not the number one game in town when it comes to soybeans until this fall. So on the wheat side of things, we had 11.4 million bushels on very low side of the trade estimates, 15 to 22, and off of last week significantly. So a little disappointing on that wheat front with those export inspections. All right, got a little chart here looking at those seasonally. I should have pulled these in a little bit sooner, but just gives you a snapshot, seasonality of these different commodities. Corn hanging in there, shining light. Beans, that cliff, and then wheat being a little bit disappointing there too. So crop progress, that was the other thing we had out yesterday afternoon. Got a snapshot of that for you as well. A couple different graphics here to go through. But we saw corn planting pace plugged along, 40% planted versus 24% last week. A lot in the trade were maybe a little disappointed that corn planting wasn't further along. Soybeans surged pretty well, caught up on soybeans there, and we'll have some individual stuff here to look at. And then looking at your wheat conditions, 51% good to excellent versus 49% a week ago. I was thinking there might be a little bigger uptick on the wheat front. But Oklahoma, Texas, Colorado, those conditions improved. They kept Kansas conditions steady, which surprised me. Maybe we'll see an uptick down the road. So here's some graphics courtesy of Grain Stats. Good follow on Twitter and a great website out there. If you're not a subscriber to them, I encourage you to look at their stuff as well. Corn planting progress just gives you a line that we're, right in there. No problems on the planting side of things. Then on the left side there, I've got that sorted difference versus a 5-year average. So you can see Kentucky, Illinois, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Iowa, a little bit concerning on the corn planting pace versus that 5-year average, where we've got South Dakota, North Dakota, Colorado, Michigan, Ohio, Kansas, Nebraska, a lot out in the west and in that northern plains in the Dakotas ahead of pace out there. So gives you a snapshot of where we're at state by state. Here's looking at soybeans, and you can see that highlighted where, the past recent years we're well ahead of pace. So a lot of people adopting the beans first approach to planting and getting the crop in makes a lot of sense. Reach back to my agronomy days, makes a lot of sense to get those beans in the ground. Looking at the state by state differences, Illinois tick behind, but Louisiana, South Dakota, Arkansas, Tennessee, Ohio well ahead of their 5-year averages, and beans just a lot of beans in the ground here. The planting window going forward looks to be pretty open in anticipation that we'll get a lot of work done over the coming weeks. So we don't really have a planting story. That's one strike against the grains here. We talked about that yesterday. So all right, on to the next things here. See what else I got built in here. Want to talk about seasonality here too. So this is a great chart. A lot of people look at it. Seasonality in your grain markets. This looks at these corn seasonal percent normalized since December 15th. So when do we see the big sell-off? And you can see in bearish years and big stocks years, we can see a significant cliff in May, June, July timeframe where those markets can really soften up. So the 5-year average, a 10-year average, and are funds going to flip and go short corn? The latest COT data had funds sold 40,000 going into last Tuesday, and that brought their net short or their net long position down to 70,000. They can go either way from here. Their net long 70,000 contracts of corn. They can go up to 350,000, and we could see if something came in, we could have a bullish surprise and have them decide they want to go long the corn market. What's that surprise going to be? But if there's no story, it feels like that anchor is to the weaker side. And will they want to go short corn? How short will they want to go? Will they want to get down to 250, 300,000 net short corn? That'd be a big swing and a big market move. And we could see that if you look at this seasonal chart. So how much worse can it get? That's the mindset I want you to avoid here. And that seems to be some of the narrative out there is, well, we've sold off significantly. How much worse can it get? Believe me, it can get a lot worse. So buckle up. And I don't know. Be careful with your bias. Be careful with your bias going forward. So wanted to hit that a little bit here today. On the cattle front, nothing really new to report here. Futures continue to climb into uncharted bullish territory. Good opportunities out there in the cattle market. Resistance is going to come from high prices, rationing consumer demand, and we'll see when we get there. We've talked about that for a little while, but it's always bullish at the top, and I don't want to underestimate how high your cattle market can go. Don't want to put a lid on it because it can always go higher than you think possible. So embrace positions that allow you to benefit if the market goes higher and trail your coverage up for when that market and that unexpected surprise comes and the market sell off unexpectedly. So position accordingly and use tools that enable you to embrace a bull market and ride that bull when you can. Ride it. Bull markets in ag, they don't last forever. So all right, been doing a lot of managing of customer positions on the cattle side of things, protecting more equity as the markets continue higher, rewarding rally and getting more coverage on. LRP is a fantastic tool to be using here. Guys, you need to look at LRP for the calves you've got on the ground, any grass cattle you're buying and running this summer, and then even out into next year's calf crop, the calves that will be born January, February, March timeframe. Look at those opportunities out there to get some coverage on those next calves coming up. So upcoming this week, we've got the Fed meeting tomorrow. Expectations, we talked about it yesterday as well, is for unchanged on their rate decision. But the media, everyone, traders are going to be listening very closely to what Jay Powell says. The Fed is kind of in a pickle. Are they going to manage the near-term recession? How do they deal with the back and forth trade talk? And how do they manage stagflation, inflation? So everybody's going to be listening to what Powell says. He'll be asked some tough questions, and we'll see how he answers them. Note that the Powell Fed has been very much a wait and see Fed. They want to see the data. They want confirmation of it. They tend to lean towards sitting on their hands and waiting till they have to do something to do it. So we'll see what that's tomorrow. We got EIA data tomorrow as well. So we'll look at ethanol stocks, ethanol production. We've got weekly export sales on Thursday, and we've got that May WASDE coming up on Monday. A few more trading days ahead of that big May WASDE report. And we'll go live at 11 o'clock for that report drop. And I've heard that ATI's Kurt Struber is going to be hosting the post recap. And I look forward very much to that. Always fun to listen to what Kurt has to say. So we'll have 3 episodes on Monday, live at 9, live at 11, and then live at 1:30, 1:15 time frame for that recap of that May WASDE. So with that, your grain markets are moving. Stay safe out there in the field. Thanks for joining us today, every day. If you need anything market-wise, grains, cattle, you want to talk about your plan going forward, encourage you to give us a call. Thanks for joining us today. Have a good day.